Good morning. We're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Jessica Codispoti. There we go.
And my name is Christy Lewis.
I'm Kim Inglis.
I'm Courtney Baker.
And we are from Black Fox Elementary, which is a Title I school. We are K-6, and we are in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And last year at this time, and I'm pretty sure it was exactly this time, we were walking across the stage getting our STEM designation. So we worked really hard last year, and one of the areas that we really focused on was creating a collaborative culture within our school. And we believed that if we created this collaborative culture that all the teachers supported and bought into, that we could accomplish anything. So we are really excited today to share our collaborative culture with you. Okay, so we're going to get started. We're going to start with a notice and wonder. So we're just going to watch a quick 3-minute video. These are some kiddos at our school. So if you'll just use your notice and wonder paper and write down anything that you notice about the video or anything that you're wondering about it.
This has a period. Maybe we have to switch something. I feel like that wouldn't work. Maybe this way. Maybe that would work. I'm trying to jump, but sometimes I feel like without legs. The last part doesn't make sense, but there's no other way to put it. And this one's the only one with a period. This one and this one are capital letters. So one of these could be like this. Wait, hold on, let's see. Wait, let's try this way. But sometimes I'm trying to jump, I feel without legs, but I think it's this way. Yeah, I don't know. Because I feel like it makes more sense. I'm trying to jump, but sometimes I feel like without legs. I feel like totally makes sense. But when but sometimes I is always supposed to be capitalized, but I don't know. This could make sense. And the other way could make sense, make a little bit sense too, but I feel like I'm trying to jump, but sometimes without legs. Does that make sense or no? I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to jump, but sometimes without legs.
Where's the capital?
It kind of makes sense.
This one.
I'm trying to jump, I feel like, but sometimes without legs.
And because this one makes like a little more.
I think the one that we had before makes sense. Let's put this one first. But sometimes I'm trying to jump without legs. I feel
No. Like this. Like that one.
Don't look at me, keep trying.
I'm trying to jump. I feel like,
But sometimes
I don't know.
I feel like I'm jumping, but sometimes without legs.
I feel like I'm trying to jump, but sometimes without legs.
No. But sometimes I'm trying to jump, I feel like without legs.
Maybe this way. But sometimes I feel like I'm trying to jump without legs.
All right, so what are some things that you noticed in that video? Anybody? I'm coming. Yep, you're coming. I'm coming.
I noticed that even though that appears to be an ELA lesson, that they were kind of using some elements of the scientific method and iterative design to work through how this sentence needed to go.
Okay, any other notices?
They were not afraid of failing because there was no timidness or like, I don't want to try it because it might be wrong. And then they kept revising it even though it could have potentially been a failure. They didn't care.
The teacher was strategically useless.
I like that. I like that. Okay.
They worked well together. They were being respectful of one another. It seemed like they understood like the norms of how to work well with one another.
Are there any wonders? Have any wonders, questions?
Yeah, only because I know as a teacher, sometimes you're wanting to jump in, and so you want to think, how long will I allow this struggle to go on before I do step in? So about how long would I wait?
Gotcha. Okay. All right, well, we're going to come back to this video in just a little while and answer that wonder and talk about those notices. But in front of you, you'll notice, you and your partner, may have to move around a little bit. There'll be an envelope. And in your envelope are a bunch of cards. Okay, and all we want you to do is sort the cards. It's an open sort. So you decide how to sort them. We're going to give you about 5 minutes, and then we're going to talk about how you sorted your cards.
If you need an envelope, raise your hand. I can bring you some from the front. All right, guys, you have about 1 more minute. Okay, so let's see if we can share out a little bit. How did someone want to share how you sorted any of your cards? Anybody?
Well, we started by sorting them, and then we made a pile of things that were everything. And then we decided that everything was really everything. So then we took the categories and put them to the side and said everything was everything. So
Because
that's what we
STEM
did.
is everywhere, right?
Collaboration at the top and then subcategories of critical thinking and communication. So then we sorted them under those subcategories.
So you made the 21st century skills like your big categories. Is that what you're saying?
Collaboration up
Yeah.
top, and then creativity, critical thinking, communication underneath. And then
Okay.
we did subcategories.
Anyone else? Don't be scared. Well, this is how I'm sorry.
Well, we looked at our topics and we asked ourselves, what does this look like? You know, what does critical thinking look like? What does creativity look like? And we started there and we decided everything was everything. So.
And you're right, everything is everything. When we kind of started our journey, this is how we were thinking. Everything is everything. But we really wanted to foster a culture at our school where we wanted the buy-in of STEAM and STEM, and we really wanted to innovate, have kids innovating and thinking and making sure that we are building those big 21st century skills. So we began to start thinking of the habits of mind as well. And this is when we wanted to sit down and start thinking about how can we deliver it to our students, to our staff, that made it a little bit easier besides saying, here's 26 big habits, or here are these big 21st century skills. So we just kind of sat down and thought which habits kind of go with which 21st century skills, and we began to focus our culture and broke it down by like quarters. So as we have 4 quarters at school, and we kind of went on to like the big focus areas. And we really thought that our kids needed these habits to foster innovation, to foster thinking and collaboration. And we started instilling all of these habits into our daily culture at Black Fox. And we did it many different ways. We did it through morning meetings. We did it through our morning announcements. We do it integrated through all of our content areas. As you saw, the reading video, many of these habits and 21st century skills were embedded just in the kids' conversations and the kids' collaboration. So we already knew we were doing these things. We just had to learn how to put a label on what we were doing. And so this is where our culture kind of began as we began our STEM process at Black Fox. So we decided to ask ourselves as our leadership team, why were these things important to us? Because we knew we had great culture. We knew our journey began with STEAM and STEM way before we decided to let's go for designation. So we really decided why were these important to us? And so that's when we decided that this is preparing our kids for change and the uncertainty. And we felt like these soft skills, these skills right here that the kids needed every day to be able to navigate the information we were giving them, to be able to solve real world problems and to have those skills of looking at real world problems and to build character. We have a character program at school like most schools do, but we felt like these were just a great addition to our character program. Our guidance counselors brought in, they present these and some of their character ideas, and then just making sure they're ready to compete in the workforce when they leave us and to stay relevant and to foster progress. And so this is where we just kept going, and we have built that knowledge in the kids. So when we say, oh, we're collaborating today, what are some great things that we can do to collaborate? We collaborate all the time. We just learn to put labels on things. So where do you see these skills in your classroom or your school? Are you already doing a lot of these things? Anybody want to share? Does anyone use the habits of mind as part of your culture or your 21st century skills? No? Yeah? Do you use the habits? Do you like call them, do you like name them the habits of mind?
Yes.
Yep.
The habits of mind and the habits of interaction, and they hang in all of our classrooms. Yeah.
Anyone else feel the same, that you're already doing a lot of these things? we felt like we were doing a lot of these things. We just decided to like really put labels on them.
Okay, so a couple of ways that we integrate these 21st century skills and habits of mind at Black Fox are, like Christy said, we do a quarterly focus on at least one 21st century skill and 3 or 4 habits of mind. And so it seems like less overwhelming for the teachers and the kids to introduce them in chunks, and then we keep building on those throughout the year. We have daily morning meetings that focus on teaching and modeling the habits of mind. Our morning announcements highlight a habit of mind weekly. Our classrooms are set up to promote collaboration and communication. A lot of our classrooms have moved from desks to tables to really promote that collaboration. We have collaboration stations that are set up in the hallway. We also house like the engineering design process out there and the 21st century skills where kids can go out in the hallway and work together. We integrate the habits of mind into all subject areas. Like Christy said, students are recognized quarterly for excelling at the habits of mind. And one thing that we did last year was we had a school-wide data wall that had each of the habits of mind, and each grade level got a different color sticky note, and the kids had to vote on what their favorite habit of mind was, and they wrote a little explanation for why. And I think when we did it, we all thought like finding humor was going to be the number one. Does anyone remember what actually got voted the most?
Persistence ended up being one of the top.
Persistence. So it kind of surprised us what they chose. One of my favorite things about the habits of mind is it's not a skill that you can master. So as a teacher, I'm modeling how I use the habits of mind. We had a conservation of mass lab. So we were striving for accuracy. I talked about if you're not really accurate, if you're not precise, your conclusions aren't going to be right. And so I'm walking around, and all of a sudden I hear a crash, and I look over, and vinegar is running off a table, and baking soda's everywhere. And my shoulders go up as a teacher. I'm like, okay. And the kids start laughing. And I was like, excuse me, why are y'all laughing? And they're like, oh, our habit of mind this quarter is finding humor. And I was like, ah. And so as a teacher, I reflect, I'm like, okay, I can't be mad at you. It's not gonna work out, but at least you're using a habit of mind. Okay, so we're gonna go a little example of how we use habits of mind. So in your stack of papers, you have a math task. And so we're gonna give you just a few minutes to independently work on the math task. There's no talking yet and no sharing ideas yet. And no calculators. Okay, now I want you to turn and talk to someone around you. Talk about what you did, share your strategies. Okay, so now what I would like for you to do with your group, we need more time. I did not bring the answer key to this because this was not the purpose. So I want for you to talk about with your group, so this is not how I would present a math task to my kids, but with your group, what habits of mind did you use during independent time and work time together? And think about, as a teacher, as you're walking around watching your kids work on this, what habits of mind could you encourage them to use? Yeah, talk about it with your groups.
Harder than working on your right. Okay, so we would like to hear, as you were working on your math task, again, the purpose for this session was not to get the correct answer, but to think about habits. So what habits did you use as you were solving the math task? Okay, collaboration.
Persistent. We didn't want to give up.
Persistence, precision.
I don't know if this is on.
Striving for accuracy.
There was a whole lot of striving for accuracy on this side.
Yes, there was.
Above my level. Your humor was funny because why is it funny to you that you're doing this?
Because he's my math coach. It's not fair. When we picked a math task for this session, we wanted to pick something that was challenging because that's what we're putting in front of kids every single day. Since we have started using habits of mind, things that I just naturally start to use with math tasks, like thinking flexibly. So if a kid has solved it, can you show me another way to solve it, another strategy you can use? The kids have gotten really good at questioning, so when they turn and talk and they're collaborating, they're questioning each other about their answers and the strategies and how they got there. We talk a lot about precision in math and in ELA, especially with those quotes they have to pull out. My kids my favorite thing as a teacher is when they start to use my language. And so they've started at the end of the year looking for quotes to support their answers in ELA, and they're like, that quote's not very precise. I'm like, oh, that makes me so happy when I hear them say that. But they know that precision matters. Applying past knowledge to new situations fits into math too. But really the purpose of this was to show one of the reasons we started with this was because it was a lot easier to start implementing and labeling the things we were already doing. We talk about precision when writing. A sentence starts with a capital letter, ends with a period. If you don't have that, you don't have a precise sentence. So just an easy way to label and implement what you're already doing. Anything to add to that? Okay. Okay, so we have a reflection for you, and then we're going to take some questions at the end. So they're going to hand that out, but we want for you to think about something that squared away with you. What is something you want to circle back to? And what are 3 significant ideas that you took away to implement in your school or in your classroom?
All right, so does somebody want to share what is something that squared away with you today? What was something that you really thought, oh, wow, that's cool? Sorry, I forgot that's your job. Go ahead.
I like the giving specific names and even the icons that are associated with each one of these ideas. I work with a lot of EL students, so we're real big on visual things in addition to just, writing out or just like saying, oh, we're striving for accuracy. Of course we're striving for accuracy, but it's something like this that you can put up on the board or put up on the wall that you can refer back to. I think that that's really powerful.
And that was something that really surprised us with our kids. We had been doing this for years, but the kids never knew it. The kids never had that label. They never had that understanding. And as soon as we put a label to it and as soon as we put a name to it, the kids started, oh, hey, I'm striving for accuracy. I'm doing this. And it was just them being aware of, hey, that's what this is, and this is why it's important.
And speaking of the icons you were talking about, our morning announcements is broadcast digital through our school, and we do put the icons up with whichever focus habit that we're doing weekly, and so that is also visible for all of our students as well.
Okay. All right, what is something that someone wants to circle back to? Something you might want to look a little bit deeper into? Other than solving the math task.
I actually had a question because I know you guys said that you teach these habits of mind during your morning meetings, so that is definitely something that I'd want to incorporate. Do you all have a specific activity or curriculum or anything that you guys use in order to implement that school-wide so that everyone has that universal language?
So every teacher kind of does it a little bit differently. We have a second grade teacher who is fantastic at really making this a hands-on thing. So she'll pick one of the habits of mind, and I'm not sure which one was she? Oh, yeah, she was thinking flexibly. So she asked a question, and she had the kids tell her different ways to solve the problem, and then they had to kind of come up with it and figure out, oh, we were talking about thinking flexibly. And then there was one that she couldn't reach, and she had a chair, and she had the kids try to figure out a way to reach the habit. So just turning it into a physical thing where they can get up and actually experience the habit.
And I breaking these down into certain ones that we focus on per quarter. That really helps. These are the ones that I'm going to bring to my morning meeting that morning. We might focus on 4 or 5 a quarter, and so we tie that into a certain specific 21st century skill that quarter as well. And so that's how we know which ones that we're going to focus on in our morning meeting as well. And our guidance counselors also incorporate that into their character traits and the things that they put out for us weekly, and we also take that and put it on a focus for our morning announcements as well. So it's kind of all whatever our focus is for that quarter. We don't do all 16 randomly. We kind of just do a focus, a few for a quarter.
I've actually had in some of my small groups where you're looking for a specific activity with them. It's easy when you just focus on those core, like they're saying. And I believe I know which teacher you're talking about, and I got this from her, watching her too. But we play a mystery, if they can figure out a mystery habit, what's my habit? And so I might have a few kids that I tell them the habit, and they have to demonstrate that through some things that they're doing in their conversations, and then the rest of the kids are trying to find that mystery habit. But you were talking about common language, and if you, as a school, if this culture is built, the language is natural. Because if you build this culture and you put what we put our focus on, the kids are using it in their accountable talk with each other when we're not even standing there.
All right, and what are 3 significant ideas that you took away today that you think you might want to implement in your school or your classroom or your district?
We talked about using the habits of mind and maybe making weekly videos using talking about them and encouraging the classrooms to use them as well. For morning meeting.
There are also websites that are focused on the 16 habits of mind, and there are YouTube videos also, like on each habit, that come from that specific video. Sometimes I will put that video, so if we're focusing on thinking flexibly, I might introduce that focus of that habit that week with one of the videos, and we like pick out like the things in the video that the kids did to think flexibly, or how did that incorporate into the real life, not just in the classroom. So there are some videos you can also use to incorporate the habits of mind in your morning meeting or throughout your day as well.
Are there any other questions that you all have for us?
You said something about collaboration stations in the hallways. Can y'all expand on that a little bit?
Around our building, you can see up there on the top right, we have some little like alcovey places that we never knew what to do with. They always kind of sat empty and never used. So our principal got us tables and chairs, and we put tables and chairs in those areas. And then we put up our engineering design process and the 21st century skills on the wall. And we have one per hallway, and that's a place where we can send kids with EAs that might need to catch up on work. It's a place where we could send a group that if they need a little bit longer to work on their STEAM project, they can go there. We even use it sometimes to collaborate across grade levels, where we'll have multiple, like maybe 3rd, 4th, 5th grade kids out there working on something similar. We use them for all kinds of things.
One of our collaboration stations was lucky enough to get a water table this year, and so that is also in the collaboration station. So it helped. We've used it for weathering and erosion. We've used it for the water cycle. So that is also in one of our collaboration stations, just tying in like there's labs and areas for lab work as well out there.
They also have the social emotional. You were talking about with the counselors. The collaboration stations have like a cool down station in them as well. And a lot of times our kids are using that to work through their social emotional skills that they're lacking and need to kind of pump up a little bit. But that I think that's a really cool way to see that all of this works in everything, not just subject matters.
Are there any other questions? We're good. Well, we thank you for coming today and learning more about our culture at our school, and we hope that you have taken something away that you can use with you.